My name is Dr. Antony Brian and I'm a planetary geologist, or more specifically, a Venusian volcanologist, which means that not only do I study the geology of the planets, but I also look at large volcanoes on the planet Venus and how they have formed and changed the surface of that planet. Now, thank you to the children from Wickepin Primary School for sending in such great questions. They really were very hard to answer. The first question we've got is from Kaiser in year 1, and he asks, how was space made? Now, there are many theories about how the universe was formed, but most astronomers today believe in something we call the Big Bang. Now, about 14 billion years ago, the entire universe was inside a bubble that was thousands of times smaller than a pinhead. And it was hotter and denser than anything we can imagine. Then it suddenly expanded, and the universe that we know was born. The name Big Bang is not quite right, as there wasn't an explosion. In a fraction of a second, the universe grew from many times smaller than that pinhead to bigger than a galaxy, and it kept on growing at a fantastic rate, and it expands today. Over the next 3 minutes, the temperature had dropped below 1 billion degrees Celsius, and it was now cool enough for tiny little particles to come together. After about 300,000 years, the universe had cooled again to about 3,000 degrees, and atomic nuclei could finally capture atoms and form larger particles. Now, over time, the universe filled with clouds of hydrogen and helium gas, and then, after about 400 million years, the first stars were born. And it continued to develop after that time over the next 14 billion years to form the universe as we know it today. Now, Fletcher in year 2 asks, what is out of outer space? Well, again, that's a really hard question. And the short answer is that we don't really know. Because the universe is still expanding, we can only see part of it, and there is another part outside that our observable universe is expanding into. Now, you can try to imagine that space is like the surface of a balloon, and everything is stretching away from everything else as the balloon is being blown up. Some people also think that we might be part of a multi-universe, and there are infinite numbers of universes living inside and outside each one. Really mind-boggling stuff. Now, the second topic that we were asked questions about is from Noah, year 2, and Sadie, year 2, and they ask about black holes. Noah asks, how many planets have been eaten by a black hole? And Sadie asks, has anyone died in a black hole? Now, to answer these, we first have to understand, actually, what is a black hole? Now, a black hole is an area in space that has such enormous gravity that nothing, not even light, can escape from it. Now, black holes can form in lots of different ways, including when huge stars come to the ends of their lives and they explode in giant supernovas. All the mass that's left over from that explosion, which is many times the mass of our sun, falls into an infinitely small point. Large black holes can hold millions of times the mass of our sun, again in an area smaller than a pinhead. The point where that mass is trapped is called something as a singularity. But the region around where the light gets sucked in is a little bit larger than that, and that's called the event horizon. Now, you might think that as a kind of a funnel where light is going inside. So, have any planets been eaten by a black hole? Well, not the planets that we know here from Earth. The nearest black hole to our solar system is around 1,600 light years away, which is pretty far. And that's about 400 times further than our nearest star neighbour. But even though none of the planets have been eaten, there would have been planets around other stars that have been eaten. Now, since the nearest black hole is so far away, no humans have died by being sucked into one. But let's think what would happen if a spacecraft was able to reach one. Now, as it got to the edge of the event horizon, something called spaghettification would occur. The gravity on one side of the spacecraft nearest a black hole will be so much more stronger than the gravity on the other side. And that means that the spacecraft would start to get stretched out into a long string, just like a piece of spaghetti.